Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our channel, Inside Vegas with David and Billy. We have some really special guests today. It's people that are very special to us and we've known and worked with for many years. We have Jessica and John. We're going to talk to them in a little bit about how they've transitioned, what their career has been through the pandemic, before the pandemic, and what they think it's going to be afterwards. So we're looking forward to really talking to them. Thank you. Today we have some very special guests to both David and I. A lot of times David might have somebody that he knows a little bit better, or I might know somebody a little bit better. This time, I think David and I equally know one of these two guests very well, and her husband kind of as well. But Jessica is with us, and her husband John. Jessica is she worked with both of us at Cirque du Soleil, and she has gone on to have an amazing career. And we'll let her touch on that a little bit, but we just wanted to say hi to both of you and thank you for joining us and to talk to us a little bit about what you're doing now. So to that, I'll say hi to Jessica and John.
Hello, thank you for having us. We appreciate it so much.
Thank you. I want to give it to you to give us your experience in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, I'll start from the beginning, I guess. As you mentioned, Billy, I was extremely fortunate to start my career with Cirque du Soleil, which is a huge brand and an amazing company to work for. I started off as an intern actually for Zumanity. And it was a big deal at the time because I just turned 21 and you had to be 21 to work on the show. And Zumanity has such a special place in my heart. I learned so much from there. The people were wonderful. And I was one of the first group of interns that Cirque du Soleil had established with their program. And it was a big deal because of the nature of Zumanity to have a young girl working backstage. And it was just awesome. I missed that show so much. And I'm so sad with everyone, cast and crew, that it closed, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, from what I understand. But that is where my heart has always been, and what Cirque du Soleil did for me to get my career started. When I was at Cirque, I did a couple things. I was working after transitioning from stage managing. I was in ticketing sales and did some casting, so got my feet wet in a few things. And then Win Entertainment was hiring at the time for an entertainment sales and marketing manager. So I just applied, not thinking that I would get it. I was not qualified for the job whatsoever. Extremely fortunate over there. I was able to work on the show Le Rêve, which another one that was unfortunately closed due to the pandemic. And that show was beautiful. I hope many people had a chance to experience it. And I also worked on Garth Brooks' residency over at Encore, which was a once in a lifetime experience. I remember sitting. Incredible. Oh, it was so good. And I remember we were at the time, so ticket sales for Garth, traditionally Garth, if I know him, Garth Brooks, I should be respectful. His ticket sales are the same price per seat, no matter where you are in the theater. And typically he's used to doing arena shows, but he wanted to translate that model into Encore. So we're getting ready to have a meeting with him. And I just remember sitting in this boardroom on a Saturday morning with executives, and then Garth Brooks walks in because we're having a meeting with Garth Brooks. And I just thought to myself, like, this cannot be real right now. I was in my mid-20s, sitting in an executive boardroom, having a meeting with Garth Brooks. Then when I was at Win, a little birdie told me that there was an opening at Blue Man Group. And speaking of, I was at a place in my life where I needed to focus a bit more on our marriage and just kind of my next steps in life. And John was in the process of opening his gym, and I'll get more into that. But we're just kind of at this crossroads. And when I was at Win and Encore, I worked 24/7. Like, that was my life. I lived it. I breathed it. I loved it. But I knew that I couldn't be as successful as I wanted to in other areas of my life if I continued to work that way. So Blue Man really provided an amazing work-life, home life balance for me. Then, funny enough, Blue Man was purchased by Cirque du Soleil. So I found myself coming full circle. Full circle. And again, wonderful people, wonderful company. And there was definitely an option to stay on board with Blue Man Group and Cirque. But something inside me was telling me it was time to transition out of entertainment, stay in the field that I'm in, but transition out of entertainment. And then Gina Payton moved over to Pink Jeep, and she had an opportunity to build a sales team. And so I just loved working for her at Blue Man, and essentially followed her over to Pink Jeep, which is where I'm at now. Thankfully, still at now in our industry. Yeah.
How was that going from entertainment, like you said, it's the same industry, but entertainment, going to Pink Jeep, where it's really more tour, kind of the tour and attraction and that kind of world. Was that a difficult transition? Was there a learning curve? Did you feel like, well, there's definitely some changes I got to get used to, or because it was the same industry, it really felt like natural and you could just kind of fall into it?
Sure. It ended up being much more natural than I anticipated it to be, because I was essentially doing the same thing, which is putting butts in seats, right? That's what we do in our industry. And I was just putting them in seats that take you to the Grand Canyon versus watching a show. Right. So I really tried to carry that idea fluidly through my work and what I did, because that's what I know how to do, or I think I know how to do, hopefully, at this point in my career. But I was scared. I really thought, like, gosh, I love entertainment. I've lived it and I've breathed it my entire life. My whole family has come from entertainment. My parents are acrobats. My brother's an acrobat. John was in Tournament of Kings for a little while. So it's been my life. Lo and behold, it's been perfect for where I'm at in my life now. I love being outdoors. I love learning about nature and rocks and things that I wouldn't necessarily think were exciting to learn about. I'm finding myself on tour just going, oh my gosh, this is so cool. Or I didn't know about this, or this is a secret spot, or, just it's so educational and something completely different. But I still get to do what I love, which is selling Vegas and putting those butts in seats.
John, you've also kind of gone through, I don't know if I want to say a series of reinventions, but you definitely have a unique journey. Yeah. And can you kind of talk about it and kind of tell us where you were and what brought you to where you are now?
What I believe is that your purpose in life is not what you do. Actually, what you do is serves your purpose. And so, if you guys seen that new movie Soul recently,
yeah,
totally perfect. Like clicked with me. I was like, this is my life. So, I was in Tournament of Kings for a little bit, and that was one of the greatest times of my life. I mean, just bringing joy to people through performing, and was an amazing experience. I'll always look back on the fondest memory.
To clarify, because we have a lot of people that are more on the behind the scenes, you were actually one of the knights, is that correct?
Yes, yeah. I was one of the, my official role name was Muscle Guy.
Perfect.
Literally Muscle Guy.
Yeah, we saw the casting call and I said, you better get your butt over to the theater and audition for this.
Yeah. And then I knew performing wasn't a forever thing. So I started the gym, or started the training. And I started my gym from there, and we grew. And I want to give back to people who just may not have been grown up with the best of nutrition or been taught how to be fit or how to be healthy. I think there's a lot of lack of knowledge and awareness that goes on.
No, keep going, because how long you had the gym for, and then I guess the pivot to where you are now.
The pandemic pivot.
Yeah, that's really good, Jessica.
Right, pandemic, right? It should be pandemic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've had the gym and training people individually, and now it's the pandemic made it more difficult to train people in person and such. And so had to find another way with my skills and what I know to pivot into again, kind of just give back what I know. Like I know how easy to me to take care of a home, how to do projects and things that people you know would love to take care of their home or improve their home. I've been doing it all my life, and so it's kind of just a similar reason for doing it, that I feel like I have the skill, I have the knowledge, and I love being able to give back. So and it's very rewarding. So I love it.
So
That's
John,
awesome.
just for clarification, is the gym still open?
Well, the gym, I personally train a few individuals, and we also have an online training platform as well, which the big pandemic shift, I guess, is like everybody went online, Zoom, and like I didn't know anything about Zoom beforehand, and it's been now my reach with my mission with the gym and the philosophy, I guess, and the whole kind of how we see fitness. Like now, it's forced me to do it, to go online more. So now I can, effectively reach anybody in the world.
So you have shifted over from kind of fitness and training, which you still do, but like you said, now you have this online platform, which kind of has freed up some of your time. Like there is definitely, as great as having your own spaces, there's also something about maintenance and having to physically always be somewhere, Yeah. So you shifted over to essentially, how would you describe what you do now? Is it beautification projects? Is it truly, are you a jack of all trades? It's like, hey man, my toilet's clogged, I need help. Or is it, I need to replace the drywall because it's old and I need help doing it? Like, what's the scope of what you can do?
Definitely a jack of all trades. I mean, as much as possible. Let's say I am not building additions on homes, where I'm not looking to have larger projects of kind of renovating a whole 2,000 square foot home, and it's only me, which I love, and I think it'll always be that way because I literally love to do this. And so like having people do it for me or hiring people, I do this because I like to get my hands dirty and I like to do it. So I'm not probably going to paint a whole home either, it's gonna be a little bit of time to do by myself. But I can do more or less anything, from there's certain restrictions within license, can't replumb walls and certain electrical things, but anything from drywall to sinks and toilets and
a lot of like security installations, like ring security installations, fan installations,
mounting,
flooring, TV mounting. He can do, like, if there's a water leak, he can typically diagnose it. And if it's fixable within his limitations, he can do things like that.
How about tiling and things like that?
Tiling, any kind of remodel or kind of aesthetic change, like tiling, flooring, barn doors.
What was it like to start a business in the middle of the pandemic? Was that a big question mark for you guys? Is it like, because at the end of the day, it's still your time, it's still your effort, you're putting yourself out there. Like we had kind of briefly said over messages how, a business, as much as it's kind of its own separate thing from yourself, it's 100% an extension of who you are, especially when you're passionate about it. Did you see it as a risk, or did you just see it as this is the next step?
It felt so right for me.
Yeah.
So right. Like I said, I've been doing this all my life, taking care of the home. With my dad, I started with my dad. My dad taught me everything. He knew everything and taught me everything from inside to outside to cars and everything. And I've been doing it all my life. And it's like, wow, duh. Like, why not do it for people who may need the help? And so to me, it was the really easy decision, a right decision. I mean, as far as the COVID situation, I was of course, a little worried of going to somebody's home and all of that. But I mask up every time. We request that they mask up as well anytime that they're around me.
When did you start the handyman business?
February, January, February. Just recent. It was kind of more like what John said. It was like a light bulb moment. Somebody on Nextdoor, that app Nextdoor, had a request for a small repair. And so I just threw it up there and said, hey, my husband fixes things. Do you want him to come check it out? And she's like, yeah, absolutely. And she referred us to somebody else. And it kind of like the word started to spread. And I go, John, I think we need to actually like get a business license and make this legit because it's happening. So that's kind of how it all started.
That's fantastic. I guess what I'm really taking away from you guys is that you have to shoot your shot, right? You have to give it a go. And sometimes things are presented in front of you. And like you said, there's light bulb moments where you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Why am I not doing that? Why haven't I been doing that? That's really cool.
Yeah. Opportunity was there.
Yeah. So Jessica, back to the great outdoors, right? So Pink Jeep, and I think everyone has an idea what Pink Jeep is. If not, I mean, it's literally people being transported in Pink Jeeps to kind of the coolest places in and around the valley, as far as the Grand Canyon. And I know you guys are kind of spread out all over the country. I think you guys have like a Sedona version and all this. As I have a small hiking tour company and I see you guys out there all the time. How have you guys, and you don't have to get into specifics, obviously, but how has the pandemic affected your business? I have still seen you guys out there throughout, so I know that there's some business. I have noticed the cars aren't 100% full, but I also think that's by design. I don't think you guys are trying to I think you're trying to stagger people as well, right?
Our other locations, it's been helpful that our business model is a little bit diversified in the sense that we're just not based in Las Vegas. Las Vegas has been one of our top locations for years, but if you live here and live it and breathe it, you know what has happened to tourism in the Valley. So I do and have had the opportunity to work in other markets. I'm very thankful for that, in Sedona, Grand Canyon National Park, and Smoky Mountains, Tennessee. So between the 4 locations, Pink Jeep has essentially looked at the business holistically versus by market. Of course, we're keeping track of the markets, but it has been a blessing to be able to do that. And for Vegas specifically, and for all of our locations, Pink Jeep has been very strict with COVID restrictions. They've actually been ahead of the game in terms of handling safety protocol. We have an entire safety team that just manages the pandemic and make sure that each location is following the guidelines. And so we do social distancing in the vehicles, which is why they're not full. We require masks in the vehicles. So they are extremely careful and cautious about how we are having people enjoy our tours, and also just to be able to relax on tour. I mean, the last thing you want is to get in a vehicle and think, oh no, am I at risk for something? We still don't have all the answers. It's a constant journey, a constant, let's try this, let's try that, pivot here, pivot there. There is no formula to this. Yeah. I think if somebody had figured that out by now, they'd be very well
off. Doing it, right?
We'd all be doing it.
It's such a challenge too. Like we talk about it all the time, but the lack of the international tourists coming to Vegas. Obviously, we still get our drive-ins. We say this at every show, but the lack of the international tourists coming to Vegas, the impact is insane. It completely transforms the city. And at least from the experience and some of the really great guides that I've talked to when I'm out there, it makes up a big chunk of business for a lot of us. From indoor, outdoor, all tours, all activities. It hurts. It really, really hurts.
Yes. Yeah. Las Vegas specifically. I think all of us know and have said from the very beginning of this, and something that I have tried to be very vocal about within my company, is that Vegas is usually the first to decline, the last to come back. But when we do come back, we're going to blow everybody out of the water. So be ready.
I know it's like, and I'm sure you and Billy can definitely speak to this, but we're a unique market, right? Like the number of people that come into Vegas and like, oh, I've done so good everywhere else. I mean, the different world here, a very different world. We play by different rules. but there's a reason for it. The profitability, the level of service that we provide almost from probably every industry here is insane. Like our standards are so high, and our standards that we hold ourselves, like John was saying earlier, making people happy. That's what we do. That's what the entire city is about. So it's been kind of a wild ride to not be able to do that for so long. It's been a while, you know, to see the numbers and once we come back. But to your point, we will come back, and we're going to come back big once we're up and running.
We're seeing trends. We're seeing more advanced bookings, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So
the inquiries are coming in now, right? Like you're starting to see the planning.
The groups are starting to trickle in. I've actually done a couple groups, and I did do a trade show in December. So I've done those things during a pandemic.
So what's a trade show like during the pandemic? Right? Like I've been wanting to ask you that from the beginning.
You know, in a way, it was just like riding a bike. Like nothing had changed. The hotels are doing a phenomenal job at making sure everything is as safe as it can possibly be. Everybody has plenty of room. You're distanced. At the trade show, you know, it's always on your mind. You're always thinking about, okay, these people are flying in from somewhere. They've just traveled. They're here in a hotel. Now we're in a ballroom together. And so it definitely, I don't know that even when when the restrictions lift and the mandates kind of calm down, I don't know that it'll be a constant, like just something that's running in the back of your head. Like, oh my gosh, is this happening? What's in the air? You know,
right.
Should I, you know, go to the bar and have a drink and enjoy that time and enjoy the time with my colleagues, or do I need to, you know, maintain some kind of distance? And so with this trade show specifically, it was nice to see some of our colleagues and chat with them. And I think people are just so used to masks now. It's not alarming to see a room full of people in masks. So yeah, in a way, it was just kind of like riding a bike and people are just wearing a mask. It was not
it's actually alarming to see people without masks now. You know, it's good.
I can't handle it.
You walk into a room with no mask, you're like, what?
No.
What just happened?
No.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of them, man. Like I'm happy to like continue to wear a mask because you really think like when you're in the grocery store in line, you're like, God, I used to let people breathe on me. That's disgusting. Who knows where you've been? No, you know, now I just thinking about it like grosses me out. I'm like, oh, why? Why did we do that?
You're not wrong.
So what's next for you guys? So you guys are like, I really enjoy you guys because you have really, again, like such an interesting journey for both of you, and you're managing to maneuver these things together. And it can be a challenge when you're together. Like these are like decisions that are hard on your own, probably sometimes harder together because you're a unit, you know, these things have to be, you take on these things together. What's next?
Well, our 10-year wedding anniversary is coming up in May. So we are taking a little trip. Yeah, we've made it. Woo-woo. We have committed to making 21 more about fun because we work, like we are workhorses. That is what we do. And that drive, it hasn't gone away in 10 years. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. So we have to learn how to manage that, actually, like manage not being workaholics, you know, because we love what we do. Yeah. So we are committing to doing little trips and vacations and focusing on our daughter as much as we can. And, you know, hopefully continuing to do what we love. I mean, I feel like we're at a spot now where we've established what we're doing, where we want to go, and just kind of fine tuning and improving it is really where we're at right now.
That's great. John, what's something as a homeowner, what's something that we should all do? What is it? What's something we should take care of? What's something we should maintain? Like, what's one or two tips you can give us?
The number one is literally what I just did behind me is that, and this is a new home or newer within actually a couple of years, but like behind your sink often gets wet and you end up with small cracks in the grout behind there. And you should seal it with silicone caulk to prevent the crack happening in the first place. And that goes for your tub as well. Like, please, hey, look at your tub, look at the cracks, look, if there's any cracks whatsoever, it's just asking for a problem. So just grout lines, caulk lines, bathroom, around the sink, around the tub, around the faucets. Grout is actually like, you just don't want a mold problem, and cracks are like, oh, it's an aesthetic thing. It's not an aesthetic thing over time. So that's the number one thing I can think of top of my head. 2, change your air filters once every month, because again, your AC is gonna run harder and harder, especially with the heat and the summer coming out. Like, you need to change your air filters. And a rocking toilet. I just did a toilet replacement, and the tile wasn't level, and so it was rocking, and it ended up with a huge leak.
And to be clear here, John, you could also do that installation to make sure it's not rocking, right?
Right. Yes, and I just fixed it to make sure it's not rocking anymore. So I'm sure there's a joke in there about rocking.
It feels like it. We're on the cusp of something, you know. Jessica, what's next for Pink Jeep? What's next for you?
For me, I hope it's more of the same. I really, truly do. I love where I'm at right now, and I feel extremely fortunate and blessed to still be doing what I'm doing. And so I am just riding the wave as long as they're letting me, and I'm extremely grateful. In regards to Pink Jeep, I mean, the sky's the limit. I have a lot of faith in the company, and our parent company that owns Pink Jeep has just done a phenomenal job through this pandemic and with all of their properties and attractions that they own. And I give my hats off and kudos to them. But in terms of Vegas, I am curious to see what's happening May 1st, because I've read that they're transitioning things over to local agencies. And we all know kind of where our mayor, where her thoughts and feelings are on things. And so I do believe that it will be done very gracefully and but in the best interest of Las Vegas, and focusing on Vegas and not looking at Nevada as a state holistically, because we're different. We're different, and I think we need to act different. So I look forward to that. I think May 1st is going to be a tipping point for us.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think earlier in the year, I was thinking fall is going to be the first real big wave of we're starting to see some level of normalcy, but with the acceleration of the vaccines and everything that's going on right now, you're starting to hear a lot more, to your point, a lot more buzz, a lot more chatter. That pent up demand is definitely going to hit us pretty hard in the best possible way, I think. And I think, and we talked about this before on some of the other episodes, but we're really good at what we do here in Vegas. Like, we are great at it. And I have no doubt that once the tourism comes back, we're going to step up and do what we've always done, if not better. So I'm really glad to hear that you share kind of that level of optimism and excitement as well.
Yeah, definitely. We're am I going to say this right? The biggest city with the smallest town. Like, everybody knows everybody here, especially in our industry, and we are all determined to get back and make it work. And I just think that the heart that we have in our industry is it's going to drive us right back where we need to be, probably even further.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate
Thank you. We appreciate it.
It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cool. Well, that was a lot of fun. Really glad to see them and catch up. Guys, go ahead and subscribe, like, comment. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. We're always looking for feedback, so don't be shy. Let us know how we're doing.